we're kind of presenting as a seminar for expecting parents and young couples that might be expecting a child in the future. So it's not really like us talking to a client, it's more so giving you how we would talk to a client in your current scenario. Hi, welcome all. My name is Emilie Reinhardt, and this is my counterpart, Marie Smith. We're actually the two co-founding members of Smith and Reinhardt Financial. Today we're going to be talking to you about how financial planning can be one of the most important aspects and one of the best decisions you can make for your own retirement goals. So I would like to start off by just a quick question. How many of you feel 100% certain that you can meet all your retirement goals without any outside help from a financial planner or a certified financial analyst? As I assumed, not many of us, because statistics show that actually only 2 out of 10 couples feel 100% completely sound in their financial plan and they do not need any outside help. That's 80% of people don't feel that they can do this on your own. And you sitting here today, I feel like some of you may have some similar interests. So today I'm going to take you through our agenda, which is going to consist of our case background, which is a mock case based on real clients. We changed their names obviously for client confidentiality, but we'll be going through that, the goals they presented, which may be similar or different to your goals, and then finally our recommendations for their current case scenario. For our case background, we'll be looking at John and Jane Doe. Now, John is 32 years old and he owns his own small plumbing business. Jane is a 30-year-old school teacher in the Dearborn Public School System. They currently reside in the Metro Detroit area in Dearborn, Michigan. Now, they have $20,000 in debt, and $2,000 of that is credit card debt, and $18,000 of that debt is student loans. They're very concerned with this case scenario, especially because they're expecting a child, which is very exciting. We're very happy to hear, and we can't wait to plan for that new little goober. But right now, their main concerns are this debt, because $18,000 and being 30 years old, there's a lot of leeway to make up, especially when planning for their future. Today, our goals, we're going to focus on the 4 recommendations for these goals, which is saving for retirement, education planning for their new child, build a succession plan for John because he doesn't have anything in place for his business right now, and even though it is a small business, you still need to plan for certain case scenarios that we may not know may happen. And finally, creating a monthly budget. And I know we have this last, but this is actually the most important point, and we would be touching on this the most in our current presentation.
So as Emilie has mentioned, she laid out the case background for John and Jane Doe, which is a couple that is expecting a child very, very soon. She also briefly touched on some of the key goals that they should be focusing on in this stage of their life, which includes saving for retirement, funding their future kids' college expenses, building a succession plan for John's small plumbing business, and then also creating a monthly budget to follow. Each recommendation will be based on the goals that we just established for them. So starting with this first recommendation and the first goal for saving for retirement, the main point of this is to start saving immediately. To take advantage of the time value of money, saving as soon as possible will allow the Does to combat inflation with the interest rates that they will receive on their retirement investment assets. We recommend 2 different funding vehicles for John and Jane Doe. Considering that Jane is a teacher for the Dearborn Public School District, we recommend that she start funding the 403B plan option that she has in place. This is similar to a 401k structure with very similar contribution limits and tax benefits, but these are designed for nonprofit organizations and government entities such as like a school district. She can contribute up to $20,500 a year tax-free, and then she will have to pay taxes on those withdrawals. So moving on to John, we recommend, because he owns a small business with no qualified retirement plan in place, that he should begin funding a Roth IRA. Those contribution limits for a Roth IRA are around $6,000. And this is a unique retirement planning tool that you can withdraw your savings and your assets tax-free upon retirement. So he can withdraw those all tax-free and contribute after-tax dollars to his Roth. It is important for couples like the Does to begin funding for retirement as soon as possible to maintain their standard of living into retirement, and then maintain and establish that they'll have adequate income until their death. So moving on to the next goal, for funding their future kids' college expenses, we recommend beginning funding 529 plans as soon as the first child is born and then after every birth for the future. And we know that they are planning to have around 3 kids, so just keep that in mind when planning. This educational savings tool offers tax benefits that allows the designated beneficiary to withdraw the funds tax-free to be used for qualified educational expenses. And in the event that these funds aren't used, say maybe the child doesn't use them all up or they don't go to college, they can be transferred to an additional beneficiary for the future use for tax-free educational expenses. It is important to start funding these early to avoid the potential of a gift tax if the does do choose to potentially fund large sums in the future instead of funding small amounts now. And it also will allow them to take advantage of the time value of money. A 529 plan is good for any secondary education, so it can be used for trade school as well, and it will allow the does to set their children up for a greater chance of future success. So our third recommendation is based off our goal of building a succession plan for John's small plumbing business. So we recommend creating an estate plan that protects John and his personal liability within his business. This includes forming an LLC and then also purchasing business owner's insurance and life insurance as well. So John should consider forming and operating his business under an LLC. This mimics the structure of a corporation, but it is easier to maintain and establish. And this has become a popular tool for many small business owners to establish an LLC to run their business under. It will provide protection against legal claims for the business as well as John's personal assets too. He should also consider, like I mentioned before, purchasing business owner's insurance to further mitigate his personal risk. This will cover protection against, property damage and other liability claims as well. And then, like I also mentioned before as well, lastly, he should consider also purchasing a life insurance policy. Jane is already currently covered under her job at the Dearborn School District, but John should consider purchasing a policy as well. This will help him compensate in the event of his untimely death, for the loss of his income that his family may have to deal with. Building this type of succession plan is essential for the longevity and success for John's business as well as John's family. And then our last goal is based off of our last recommendation is based off of our last goal of creating the monthly budget, which Emilie did say this was the most important part. So John and Jane Doe need to consider creating a spending plan that allows them to manage their expenses and pay down their large amount of student loan debt and credit card debt. So by visually exploring their current habits, they'll be better able to visually, explore, or by visually exploring their current habits, they'll be better able to adjust, if they see an issue within their current spending plan and maybe a certain expense item, they'll be better able to adjust accordingly to that. They also need to consider their current goals that we listed before of saving for retirement and funding for their future kids' college expenses when building that plan as well. So we recommend helping them create a 1-year monthly budget and then adjusting based on those needs and if goals and maybe their family expands as well. Creating a monthly budget will put the does at ease and help them escape their debt and also just give them a less stressful environment to manage their day-to-day finances in. So these conclude our 4 recommendations. This is what a typical client recommendation meeting would look like. And next, I will pass it off to Emilie to close out the discussion and talk about next steps.
Thank you, Marie. So like Marie said, this is a typical case. However, when we deal with clients, it is all individualized because everybody is different and everybody has a different plan ahead of them. Everybody has different goals and everybody has a different life ahead of them. John has a business, and I don't know about many of you, but I am sure that every single person in this room owns their own business. So he has different needs and different wants. At our firm, we like to focus on the needs and wants of the individual and help them reach their goals. You can reach us here at any time if any of this strikes you as something you would like to pursue by our email, calling us, or visiting our website where you can reach out and all our contact information is there, including the members of other members of our firm. We'd like to help you reach your goals. We want to make sure that everybody can save for their retirement and reach the success they want. Financial planning is about helping individuals. We are a fee-based only firm. That means we don't try to push product onto you, and we don't try to give you things you don't need, because that's not the point of financial planning. It's about being successful for your future and successful for the future of those that depend on you. Thank you for your time today. I really enjoyed speaking with you all, and now we're free to answer any questions you may have.
Who has a question for Emilie and Marie? Come on, people.
So you mentioned that John and Jane have a solid chunk of debt, like financial debt, mainly from like credit card debt and stuff. Is there any, you may have gone over this a little bit, but would you recommend any ways that they can sort of utilize that debt? Sort of, how would they, or either mitigate all that debt or sort of utilize it to retract it in the future?
So our plan is actually to implement that into the budget. That's the main reason we want to go through a budget, because their finances are kind of all over the place right now, and they know they have the debt, but they just don't know how to kind of chip away at it. We don't want to pay it all off at once, because then we're taking away from their savings. So in the budget, we're actually going to do a payment plan that spans out across the next probably around 2 years, especially with the student loans, because the interest is so high. So once we do that budget, we can focus on pulling away from that debt and then kind of attacking more of the goals. They're also not saving for retirement. So we're trying to hit both at the same time, which is a little bit difficult, and it's going to take a little bit more time, but that's kind of why we have our budget at 1 year, and then we'll span it out to 3 to 5 after that.
Someone else have a question? I do. So given that you just did a great seminar addressing the needs of people who are about to become new parents or who are thinking in that way, how would I know you said it would be individualized. I'm in a situation where I'm in that same boat, but I don't have the debt. Why wouldn't I just what would be the benefits of working with you versus just taking your 4 main points and kind of striking out on my own after this seminar?
I would say the main points of working with us is that everyone's plans, needs, and goals change over time, and that we can kind of help you adjust to those changes in your life. So with that, it can kind of be not like a stagnant plan, but a dynamic one that can change, with your choices that you choose to make.
Terrific. Thank you so much.